What is going on, guys? For today's video, I will show you the best Lightning Strike Slayer build in Path of Exile 3.26. This is a super reliable mapper with smooth clear, solid single target damage and really high consistency right from day one. One of the biggest upsides is how tanky this setup is. With the crazy frenzy charge stacking and the Slayer's massive life leech through the wall pact, you will get insane sustain. You'll also get built-in physical reflect immunity, which means you can just roll straight into the maps without worrying about bad mods. This build uses very few buttons, making it super smooth to play. If you're looking for this build's path of building, then click my link in the description. And before we continue, thanks to U4GM. They are a pro website that provides PoE 1 boosting, items and even currency with a cheap price and fast delivery. They have over 17,000 positive comments, and this website is really worth a try. So make sure to use my discount code KAID for extra 6% off. The Lightning Strike build is insanely strong in 3.26, thanks to a few major buffs. First up, endurance charges. This patch they now give more elemental mitigation in addition to the physical damage, which effectively doubles their value. So not only do you tank hits better, but you can tank everything better. Then there's over leech, the Slayer's signature mechanic. You basically cannot die to damage over time. You're consistently leeching more than any damage over time effect that the game can dish out. So things like the corrupted blood, poison, ignite and everything else pretty much does not matter. You're unkillable unless you're one shot. And now here's where it gets spicy. The wall pact is super OP. It makes melee leech instant, but rage leech remains normal. And guess what? Lightning strike counts as both. So when you hit with melee, you will insta heal. When you hit with the range projectiles, you will get over leech. So you're pretty much healing 8000 life per second plus stacking over leech, which makes us not only brokenly tanky, but also deal super high DPS. So let's take a look at the leveling. I've split this part into two PoB links. So first we have from level 1 to 67, and then the second one picks off after the campaign, and will guide you straight to the endgame. The day 1 Lightning Strike setup already delivers around 13 million DPS with modest accessible gear, and by using 500 elemental DPS claw and the Leukocyte shield for easy accuracy and early crit scaling. If Leukocyte Day is out of reach, then the High-Res Truth or the High-Res Sight are viable substitutes. The core skill setup includes Lightning Strike, Nightblade, Multi-Strike, Inspiration, Trinity and Returning Projectiles, with only Trinity being a flex slot. Nightblade is crucial for elusiveness and crit scaling, while Rage is initially gained through the Glove Implicits and then later through a lethal Pride Javel. Defensively, the build is exceptionally durable, featuring instant life leech, sustain over leech, elusive, reflect immunity, endurance charge mitigation, and full element avoidance via the ancestral vision and the crafted boots. As gear improves, swap to a stronger claw. Add the Yoke of Suffering integration and optimize rares so that the build can scale beyond 60 million DPS in the endgame. Even without the top end upgrades, it clears tier 16 maps on day 1 effortlessly. This is a smooth, fast and straightforward build. No clunky mechanics or micromanagement, just consistent power and survivability. Next up, let's take a look at the Ascendancy choices. First priority is the Bane of the Legends. This gives you instant kill on enemies under 20% life, which massively will boost the clear speed and smooths out the mapping. After that, take the Headsman, which ramps up your damage against rares and bosses, while also granting AoE and immunity to Reflect, which is essential for pushing endgame content. Your third one should be the Brutal Favor, giving you permanent life uptime, stun immunity while leeching, and solid survivability through the overleech. It makes mapping feel smoother and protects you in the high damage scenarios. Lastly, grab the Masterful Form, which gives you a free endurance and frenzy charge, and opens the door to scaling further frenzy charges through the gear and the passive tree. This node is critical for both offense and defense in the late game, especially with the Heat Shiver scaling and the frenzy stacking. So aim to finish your Uber Lab early, as these nodes are powerful and scale very well. Then next we have our skill tree, and it has been optimized around strong scaling from the critical strike, cold damage and the life sustain, and optimized even for the endgame content. The core path starts from the duelist area, then grabbing life, attack speed and physical damage, before quickly moving upwards to the claw cluster near the ranger area, or powerful claw nodes, like the claw of the hawk and life and mana gain on hit. You can take the entire forces of the nature cluster for elemental penetration and damage, plus the primal force for scaling elemental and cold damage. The tree also includes the Heart of the Ice and Cold-Hearted Calculation, which synergizes with the Heat Shiver helmet and the Cold Conversion setup. Then a large Lethal Pride Timeless Jewel will sit near the Templar's side, converting notables in that area to beneficial ones like the double damage and the strength with solid synergy. We've picked up the Arena for life and melee range, then the Thick Skin for the element avoidance, and Quick Step for spell suppression. We also want to reserve points for +1 frenzy charge, and key power nodes like the elemental overload and the acrobatics. This layout efficiently will balance damage, leech suppression and the element immunity for pushing tier 17s with a very high uptime and speed. Next up we have our skill gems. Our main damage setup revolves around the Wall Lightning Strike, supported by Inspiration, Trinity, Multi-Strike, returning projectiles and the Ice Bite. This combo allows for fast hitting multi-projectile scaling that works perfectly with the Heat Shiver and the Freeze mechanics. Returning projectile is crucial to maximize projectile overlap and boost single target damage, especially before acquiring the Nimis. Ice Bite synergizes well with the Frenzy stacking and the freeze-based bonuses, while Trinity will ensure consistent elemental damage scaling when balanced properly. The Blood Rage is always active to sustain frenzy charges and boost overall attack speed and leech. Then the Steel Skin is automated by using the life tap via the automation support by giving you a hands-free protection against burst damage. Then Enduring Cry, linked with the Urgent Orders, will provide a quick endurance charge and an emergency life buffer when needed. Then Assassin's Mark is triggered via the mark on a hit and supported by the life tap to generate power charges for the crit scaling. And then for auras, the build runs Anger, Grace and Precision, with Enlightenment to reduce reservation by converting both offense and evasion based defenses. Next up we have gear. Your gear setup is fine-tuned to 2 setups, so non-crit and crit. The non-crit version is with the Rebuke of the Va, which is very strong early on, so there's no reason to swap to crit. I recommend to transition around level 80 to 85, once you have the Lycosaide and a decent crit claw. Just before swapping, make sure that your Assassin's Mark has 20% quality to generate the power charges reliably. Your upgrade path starts with 2 tamings and then moves into the Lethal Pride, Yoke of the Suffering and the Relicash Impatience, and with the endgame luxury options like the Headhunter, Nimis and the Progenesis. If you're using Wall Pact, then a Divine or Amethyst Flask is viable, but Progenesis will eventually replace the Amethyst. I recommend to use evasion gear early on for affordability, but the hybrid is ideal when available. Rage is sourced from the glove implicits of a Timeless Jewel with melee hit effects, and preferably with the double damage mods. For crafting, Fractured Bases with the Zeal or the Hatred Essences can yield you very strong and cheap claws. Heat Shiver scaling will require freeze, so avoid element maps until your cold setup is online. Use resistance wisely, so double taming and the yoke help, though the chaos resistance may be lacking. And then eventually aim for +1 frenzy rings, shields and the optimized jewels with a flat cold damage. Next up we have our Mercenaries. For this build we use the default Rogue Marker system, but you'll primarily want to run Alva for incursions and Nico for the sulfate farming, especially if you're pushing into the Delve content. The build clears efficiently, so stacking dense Delirium or Expedition mobs with the Rock or the Danning is also super profitable. You don't need to overly rely on the Ether or the June unless you're hunting specific uniques or the crafting bases, but they're good fillers when they show up. If you're targeting loot and sustain, then the Kirak missions with the map device mods like the Monstrous Treasure or Fortune Favors the Brave will pair efficiently with this build's fast pace. So focus your favor and Atlas passives around the Legion, Delirium and the Harbinger, so pretty much anything that drops a ton of mobs or loot quickly. Next up, let's go over the gameplay. The Lightning Strike Slayer is all about the rhythm and momentum. Your playstyle is hit and move, dash in with the Whirlwind Blades, unleash Lightning Strike to clear packs, and reposition instantly by using the Frost Blink or more Whirling Blades. Against rares or bosses, your damage ramps up fast through the Stacking Frenzy and the power charges, plus a huge boost from the Trinity and Ice Bite. Most of your survivability is passive, so you're consistently leeching. You have overleech up nearly all the time, and you're immune to reflect in most elements. Just keep the Blood Rage running, let the automation handle your defenses, and refresh Enduring Cry occasionally if needed. Then use the Assassin's Mark against tanky mobs or bosses to spike the crit chance and damage. Then, for mobility-heavy encounters, the Whirling Blades will give you a ton of uptime and repositioning, which lets you weave in and out of danger while keeping the pressure on. Just watch for chaos damage and avoid standing still for too long, as we are super tanky but not immortal. And now last but not least, let me tell you a few tips and tricks to keep in mind. So first, make sure that your trinity is properly balanced. Your elemental damage types need to stay even to maintain max resonance for the big DPS. Use my path of buildings to simulate or adjust elemental scaling. Then second, don't rush to go crit unless your gear supports it. The non-crit scaling with the Heat Shiver and Freeze will carry you very far into the maps. Always quality your Assassin's Mark to 20% before relying on the power charges. Then third, learn to abuse the projectile overlap. Position yourself close to the bosses so that all of your projectiles will hit and return. That's the secret to melting even the tankier enemies. Also, don't ignore the Enduring Cry, it's instant, gives charges and can clutch save you. And lastly, remember that this build thrives in high density maps, so invest into the content that throws enemies at you fast and often, because this is where the build goes from strong to absolutely broken. So let me know what you think about this build in the comments below. If you enjoyed this, then you don't want to miss my previous top 10 best builds video, where I showed even more powerful builds. So click the screen now and I'll see you in the next one.